Well, hey folks, and welcome back to the shed. It is great to have you join me here for this video, and thank you for doing so. Now, this video was originally going to be me remaking what is my best-selling ring so far. I simply take a little bit of this lovely Driftwood Hazel you can see now. I put a simple C-coal inlay running around the middle of the band. However, as with many great discoveries throughout time, something goes wrong with the original plan, which causes a bit of a deviation, leading to a totally different outcome, but quite a pleasing one, I think, in this case. Okay, as you saw, that was a very small and thin piece of hazel we got there. And there's no order, but I'm just trying to maximize the amount of ring I got so I can get the biggest ring out of this as possible. I think I end up with a size M. And these are just rough marks really for me to sand into and out to. More than anything, I'm not too worried about sticking to actual size, but I will aim for, I believe it's an M in the end. So once I get done here, letting my drill bit wander all over the blank, doing the pilot hole, I'll take my bigger bit and bore it out in well, suitably bad fashion. And then with the patent pending techniques, we will widen just enough to get a small coarse sanding drum in, as so. Now, I've got a larger coarse sanding drum on there, and we're just going to take the outside into those lines you saw me drawing a second ago. The issue is on these smaller pieces like this, I got some chunky fingers that, especially with the gloves, they can be hard to hold on to. So here in a second, you're going to see the accident that leads us down another path than initially intended. I'll just let that play out for you now, and I'll come back. Yep, as you could probably have imagined, it took a flight down the shed. I didn't film any of this because initially, I got to be honest, I just thought that the crack that appeared was just a surface crack, and that as I sanded the outside of the ring in more, as we refined it, I'd go through it. So I just keep on going here now with the small sanding drum until I can get the larger drum back in there. Then I'll use the larger drum just to widen it a teeny bit more so I can get it onto my patent pending expanding mandrel. We've got a lot of patent pendings here in the shed, guys. Okay, you can see the glue there, and you can also see some high points pointing out. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to square up our edges with a improvised sanding board. And what I do is I take the side that I think is the truest, and I just sort of touch it up so that I'm perfectly happy with it. And once I'm content, I will flip it over, make sure it's spinning true facing the other way, because it's my reference side now. And we'll square up the last side, or the other side. The last side, there's only two, I mean. You get what we're saying. Usually the second side does take longer, because you sort of correct in to the other side, but this went pretty quick, so I was happy with that. Now, the high spots. Normally I'd use a sanding board like this, especially on an order, and I would do it by hand. But I felt like doing something a bit different this time, and I thought I might as well show you. So there's this little technique here. You just get her spinning with the coarse sander, and you bring it in just enough till you can hear and see a tap tap as the high points are catching on it. Very careful, just to hold it close enough to get those taps. And that, over time, it does take a while, but will wear down your high points. There's no sense in just holding the sanding drum full on, because all you'll do is sand the whole ring, but you won't actually remove the high spots. And then here in a sec, you'll see me start just roughing in the final shape while I've got the sander going, and then we move on.
Expedition managed to do was supply the rebels with better weapons
Okay, so by now it's obvious we're not going to be able to keep going with this design. You can see there's the crack all the way through. I have by now put some super glue in to hold it together and given it a quick resand. So, I decide I'm going to try an integral inlay at this time. I've done lots of inlays on cracks on most of my rings, but usually they're reinforced in some way. And at this stage though, I'm thinking I'm going to experiment with having an inlay all the way through and it being an integral part of the ring. I change my mind later on, but for now that's where we're going. So what I do is I take my little wood burr and I just very carefully carve along the crack. I want to keep the shape of the crack, so I didn't take a saw and just saw through it in a straight line. I thought I added a bit of character to it, and I don't want to just go ripping chunks out the side, so I just take my time and get it done as neat as I can. Then in a sec I take a bit of sanding paper and I just knock the worst off. I do not sand the inside of the crack flat. I want the indentations, I want the tears. It creates more surface area all round for the glue that'll be holding the inlay and all together to grab onto, so I'm hoping at this point that it'll just give me that bit more strength in what is basically going to be quite a weak area. Okay, so the sanding's done. You can see I've taken some masking tape, made a little form around the inside of the ring, and I've also put some around the mandrel. Masking tape's pretty good about not sticking to super glue when you do it right, which was my thought here, and there is nothing worse than getting a ring stuck to that electrical tape wrapped around my mandrel. So I'm not sure what I was thinking here, but I start off by just chucking some coal dust in the bottom for it to stick to the tape. I've got the sticky side up, obviously. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking a little bit of dust in between the tape and the glue. Yeah, a bit of a waste of time that, but hey. And then, fortunately, just before I started with the glue, literally, I had the glue ready to go. I realised I hadn't treated it yet. And you always want to treat the wood before you go doing any inlays, because the glue tends to spill out from the inlay and it'll cause seams along the edge of the inlay where the teak oil will not penetrate the wood, and it's quite noticeable. Not particularly ugly, it's quite a nice contrast in some cases, but on these hazel rings it doesn't look too good. So we touch that up real quick, leave it dry a little bit, and then we get on with the inlay. Okay, so all I do now is I take a big old dollop of glue on my toothpick and I make sure I get it right back into all those little voids and depressions I spoke about leaving in the side of the crack. I don't want any air bubbles, I don't want any of the voids to get left unglued that can just contribute to any weakness that's already going to be there. So I take my time, I fanny about a little bit and just get it all covered up nice. So now once I start putting the coal in, this very first dollop of coal I throw in, I pack it down in. I want to get that bottom layer as solid as possible. So I just stick it in and then I knock it out. I want to clear out any loose stuff. I just want to leave anything that's actually attached to the glue, and I want to go back in now. And I tamp in the wet, damp coal just to make sure I've got it back into a couple of the voids. And then I just apply more glue on top and rinse and repeat this process until we've built up enough layers that the glue and the coal are spilled out over the top of the ring. Then once we're up above the outside of the ring, I put one last little bit of glue and dollop a last bit of dust on and pack it down nice and tight, just to try to crush out any voids that might have been left there, which you'll see here now. And then we will just leave this sit. I think I left this sit overnight. Yes, I did. No, I did not. No, I left it sit for a few hours and came back later. That's right, sorry, it's been a busy week, guys. And there, as you can see, is the mess that you're left with. So we just peel off the masking tape now to see how it did. And it didn't come out too bad. If you look in the bottom, there is still some big old cavity. I somehow managed to leave a massive cavity, even with my tamping down. So we just want to start sanding now. At first, I just do this by finger, by hand. Just, I don't want to rip off the very top and have it rip out a big old chunk. So I'm just taking my time until I start getting it down, and I'm confident that it's all set nice and solid in there and the glue's cured up good. I then switch over to a sanding board. We apply a lot more pressure and get the job done a heck of a lot quicker. Okay, once I get it down flush or close to flush with the sanding board, I'll switch over here in a second. I get rid of the sanding board, I go back to doing it by hand. Just makes it a bit easier for me to hit those specific points to get that inlay really defined. And plus, this coal will run into the grain of the wood. So doing it this way allows me to go across the grain a bit easier and to focus in. And you end up then with something about like that. Sorry guys, my camera's focusing as best as it can here. Maybe one day I'll upgrade to better cameras. Now as you can see, that coal, like I just mentioned, has stained a lot of the other wood. So around the inlay, of course, we go cross grain, so that we are sort of pulling roughly in the direction that the inlay's running. And then the rest of it we go with the grain, because it just sounds a lot easier that way. Okay, here now I'm still thinking we're going to go with this as the actual ring. Just refine some of the shape on it and we're done. So we're treating it with the old teak oil. I'm looking at the colours in the grain thinking, oh, that does look quite lovely. I didn't film it, but then I go ahead and I sand out the inside, and what we have there is a perfectly good, very cute little, but very basic size M wooden ring with an integral sea coal inlay. Yeah, it's cute, but I got a better idea. Come on, let's go do this. Yeah, I want to make this ring a little more special than it is so far. So I've done beach sand and I've done crushed red sandstone liners. So I'm going to give a sea coal liner a try. All we do is we cover the outside of the ring in masking tape, because this job can get quite sticky once you start this. We coat the inside with glue, as you would imagine, and we just keep dusting it, so that we get a good solid layer all the way across with no bare spots. And you just rinse and repeat until we've got a good thick layer all the way around. And what I do is I bring in some more viscous or thinner glue. I put a big old dollop in and I just keep twisting it around. This is where it starts getting messy. You can hear the glue with my fingers sticking in a bit. And all I do is I keep running all the way around until I've completely coated it. And I've got the glue's just running free almost. Make sure I don't miss any spots. And then in a sec, I will add just a last layer of dust. There's no packing down on this last layer or anything. We just stick that on. That fills in any final surface cavities and I suppose dries up the last of the wet glue, or gives it something to cling to instead of me. And then this now gets left overnight. And there it is. So the following morning I will come back now, or tomorrow morning as you're watching this, and I will get that sanded down. Right, so it's the next morning now, and here we go with the age-old skill of sanding. Just like with the inlay now, I just start off with a rolled up piece until I'm happy that everything's set up okay. I then wrap my paper around a screwdriver shaft and we get on into it. Now, here in a minute you're going to see a little clip. I'm going to let that play and I'll come back to you. Yeah, that was the rain coming down, folks. Everything from this part on is rushed. This entire process is rushed because what you don't see is I've got water coming in under my door right about now. So I'm trying to get this done while standing in about a ½ inch of water. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm literally now trying to finish this ring while not just standing in water, I'm actively trying to block it from coming in under my door. So you can see me wandering around now trying to find stuff. I even end up using the big old back stuffing cushion from a couch that got reclaimed to try and block what's coming in and soak up some of what's already there. But we persevere because I'm doing this at about, this is happening around 12 o'clock on Friday, which is right now. I'm recording this voiceover at 2 with the goal of having this video live by 5 o'clock tonight for you. So I'm quite happy with the way this turns out in the end, this ring. It comes up lovely, but it is just a proof. It's certainly not a finished product. But considering all the circumstances, I'm very, very pleased with how things have turned out. So I just keep on going, keeping an eye on the water in between layers. And we finally get to the end where we can buff it up. So all total, I'm really pleased with the way this ring turned out, especially given the rush here at the end. I will leave you with some stills here in a second, and I will say at this point, thank you very much for watching, guys, especially if you made it all the way to the end here. If you did, and you liked it, don't forget to hit the subscribe on this YouTube channel, and please follow the links down below to my socials. I'd love to see you over on Facebook or on Instagram. And if you really liked it, please check out the Etsy shop. In fact, if you didn't like it, just check out the Etsy shop. Alright folks, thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves now. Ta-ta.